This video is brought to you by Ravenscraft Realty of Northeast Missouri. It's Sunday morning, Mother's Day actually, and today, well, I've got some planting to do and some other miscellaneous tasks like Mother's Day. So I'm gonna go down to Java Jive real quick and grab my mom a gift card, and maybe even an actual card from Walmart. Dad and I put seed on the tender that I use, and right now we're planting Golden Harvest 4.0 maturity beans. Our guy Eric Lundberg with Lundberg Farm Service, he's been bringing them to us, dump them in that semi-trailer over there. Then we're using our conveyor to load them on to the seed tender here. And I got fuel and some DEF, and we're gonna go grease up the planter. And I got like 105 acres to plant. Tractor and planter have been greased up. Let's put seed in.
Oh, Sunday, Mother's Day, so happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. What a beautiful day. Sunshine, supposed to be close to 80 today. Really nice. Way down the bottom. Maybe you can tell from the background. Corn planters right there. Back I was putting anhydrous on, I lost 2 different no-till coulters. And there. Driving by with the planter and look what I found. I picked this up and take it back and let Nutrients guys put a new bearing in it and put it back together, be ready for next year. I lost 2 of them, so here's one. I really don't have any idea where the other one's at. Knew one of them was down here at the bottom, the other one up on the hill somewhere. Pretty much got all that planted, so it may be lost. Hard to say.
I just had to turn the tractor off and turn it back on because my section control is being a little weird. Well, I'll get to a different window so you guys can see what I'm talking about. Well, see how some of these sections are staying on longer than others? I'm not sure what's wrong with that. I mean, this over here is what it's supposed to look like, but just in the last half hour, there's a gap there because there's a phone pole. But just in the last half hour, things have started not working right. I just find it so strange that the section control would just start being weird at 2:30 on a Sunday afternoon, but maybe that's what I get for working on a Sunday and skipping church. This farm north of Palmyra is almost entirely the Menfro soil type, so naturally it lays a little bit strange, and there's a couple sinkholes out here. Actually, more than a couple. There's that big one there. That one usually has water in it. So does that one. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff to go around out here. For how goofy this place lays, it actually farms pretty quick. The place that I was at yesterday before this farmed pretty quick too. Having square and straight edges seems to help a lot with how fast something goes, regardless of how it lays. I'll see if I can catch the planter doing the weird thing again. There, it did it. And this planter has individual row shutoffs, but for some unknown reason, John Deere in 20 years of making 1790s, they have not gotten the back rows and the front rows to shut off, in the right order. Short of a few risers to fill in around, I am done with this farm. Like 260 acres here, and this was kind of no-till. We ran over it with the vertical tillage tool in the fall and sprayed it a couple weeks ago, and I just got all the beans planted on it. So I call that a success. When I say fill in around a riser, this is what I mean. Sometimes they don't line up with the planter passes, and you have to go around them. And I like to fill in a little bit on the side I had to go around. We're paying rent on every acre. May as well get all we can. I learned the hard way that when there's a space without any beans on it, usually weeds are what grows there. tragedy has befallen me. Forgot to put my bubbler in the tractor fridge before I got in the tractor, so now it's hot. The new Goldinger Farms egg layers haven't quite figured out how to go in the chicken coop yet. Come on. A little bit more. Tuesday, the 12th of May, planting some more beans. This farm was a dairy farm for many years. The cows left or the milk cows left in 86, or at least that's what the calendar in the milking barn says. And they got 3 harvestors here. 3 white tops, actually. And towards the end of these guys' farming career, they fed beef cows down here. But they were dairymen at heart. And I actually met one of the guys that farmed here before he passed away in 2019, and he was a big man. I shook his hand, and I thought he was going to tear my hand off. And at this point, he was like 90-something, and I would not have wanted to fight that guy. Jaden is working this farm with the vertical tillage tool over there across the ditch. I'm planting right behind him, well, kind of right behind him. Lays a little bit funny, but this part down here is in the floodplain of the the Fabius River. The rest of this is just kind of funky land, and this part here is a mountain. Ooh, am I gonna get it cranked around in time to not hit the mulberry tree? Kinda. I'm gonna back up. This one spot right here is about 100 that spot right there is about 100 square yards of gumbo that's on the hill. Usually in Marion County, our gumbo is in the river bottom. How that gumbo got there is a question that has baffled soil scientists for ages. This is what I meant when I said that this part of the farm is a mountain. This is quite steep. I think this is level. Yeah. Nobody tell Jaden, but I'm using an adaptive curve. I don't know how to feel about it. It's gets me on the line, but it's not perfect. But it beats driving up and around all this trying to follow a marker. Do you see what I see? One, two, three, four, 5. So this is a pretty small 10-point shed, but if this buck's still around, it's probably pretty big. There's a coyote took off just up the hill. This spot that I'm in is like a little kind of a creek bottom that's on this farm, and the guys that farmed this, or that owned it and rented it to my dad originally, they raised cows, and down here in this creek bottom is where they fed the cows. This is quite a steep hill. The camera really doesn't do it justice, but just trust me, it's steep. Oh man, another hill to plant. Not sure how I should go about this one. I think I'm just gonna back into that corner right there. So here's how high up in the air we are. We're at 591 feet here, the top of the hill. I'm gonna go down to the bottom where we cross over to get to these hill fields, and then we'll look at this reading again. So picture this. It's 2000, you're Mark Goldinger, and you're going to talk to your landlords about their farm. At the time, this up here was pasture, and Dad's landlord didn't have a truck. What he did have was a Chevy Caprice. So Dad and his landlord, well, there's actually 2 of them. One of them was in better shape than the other. So the guy that was in better shape drove Dad around the farm in a Chevy Caprice through horseweeds that were taller than the car and back into that little creek bottom there. At the bottom of the hill, we're approaching 525 feet. So there's quite a bit of fall from up there to down here. There's a lot of flat rock on this farm, and the creek is full of them.
I'm having some seed delivery issues. I'm missing a little metal piece that goes right here. and it's letting the seeds get to the bottom and they're jamming up, and my brush belt stops or exceeds the allowed amount of torque, and it shuts the whole planter off. This is happened to me twice on this last pass, so I have a new little part on the way. I'll put that back in. Hopefully that solves my problem. Kind of frustrating going across the field and have to come to a dead stop and clean that out, turn around, go back and start over. Part secured. It slides right in like that. Okay, hopefully that solves the issues of that seed catching on that. But put it all back together and take it back off. Hopefully no more stopping.
It has started sprinkling on me just a little bit, but there's really no actual precipitation in sight. And I gotta put DEF in. Good news is, I've got to put seed in about 5 acres, so I'll probably make one more round, then head for the truck and the tender down there. I've got 2 or so gallons of DEF, and that'll get me and finish this place up. You notice that I changed clothes from earlier, and that would be because I attended a funeral for my great aunt, and well, I figured, choose between planting for a couple hours and a funeral. Usually, you only get to go to someone's funeral one time, so I elected to go to the funeral, and a good time was had by all, or as good of a time as you could have at a funeral. This is the Fabius River bottom part of the farm. Well, I'm kind of getting into the bottom. There's still some hill in this field, but there's a ditch that splits it, and farm part of this place, or part of the bottom, north-south, and part of it east-west. And it's kind of split by that by this ditch here. Once I get down into here, it's pretty smooth sailing. I've always thought harvestors look pretty cool. A harvestor silo like that, included in a grain system, I think is one of the coolest things ever. To see them in with a bunch of grain bins and a grain leg. Dad told me another story about his landlords and what they were doing when he came to do the deal and rent this place. And he said that they were down here by these silos with a pull-type grader, like the kind that had, real old school, had all the cranks and wheels to adjust it. And they were shaping up the sediment basin down here. And we've been on this farm since the year 2000. My low seed alarm didn't quite go off, but I could see the seed level back in the tanks, and I don't think I was going to make it another round. I'm going to move the pickup from the field. I had Jaden park it in the field so that it wouldn't be in the way for doing my end rows. I'm going to move it from over there to here on the end rows so that it's not in the way when I do my straight rows. I'll see if I can successfully get the cover off of the tender there without getting any graphite on my nice jeans. Maybe I should have listened to my mother and put my work clothes back on. I'm gonna get back in the tractor and get lined up under the conveyor. My eyes have deceived me. I actually had plenty of seed. I just took probably the coolest thumbnail picture that I've yet to take.
Little 410 on Monday the 12th. I just finished up planting for the day. Kind of a late start. We had a bean bin we had to work on first thing this morning. Dusty. We could use a shower. Anyway, yeah, last field at the bottom is done. I've got 2 places up on the hill, 520 acres left. Chase ought to be done, I don't know, another half hour, 45 minutes with where he's planting at. Leave him less than 1,000 acres of beans left. Corn should be done Wednesday the 14th. Beans, we've got one place we're doing some work on, 60 acres there by the airport. But other than that, beans should probably be done by the end of the week. The other piece, it may take another day. It may take another day or two to wrap up our brush clearing project and building some terraces and repairing some terraces, all that kind of stuff. But for the most part, I'll consider beans to be done as well. This is much, much earlier than we're used to being done. Last year actually was not too bad, and we were like done with corn and replanting end of May, and didn't finish up beans till 1st of June. So we're going to be well ahead of our normal schedule.
This structure is the settling basin that Dad's landlords were working on when he showed up to talk to them. Very cool. I'm having to make loops over here because that hill is quite steep and can't quite pull all the way up it. Despite having 370 horsepower at my disposal, not quite enough to get up there. Another odd soil thing, that hillside right there is gumbo. That's like a river bottom thing. I'm baffled why there's gumbo on a random hill that's not in the bottom. It's very strange in my mind. Purge my belts real quick. Problem solved. Well, that's done. Turn the generator off. Turn my vacuum meters off. I just shut down the pump here in the pump house in the river bottom. I actually took a second or third or however many jobs it is position as the water master, pump house operator, water boy of South River Drainage District. Thanks for watching, and we should be wrapping up planting within the next video. So yeah, we'll get back to some old tractor kind of stuff, projects and things like that. But anyways, I'll catch you guys on the next one, so take care.